What's up, average dad fans? Welcome back to another video, and today I have a versus between 1A and 1A. Yes, these phones are so similar I can't even call one 1B. I've done numerous versus battles over the years, but in 2025 I can promise you these two phones are the best two Android phones of the moment right now. I'm going to break down the hardware, the software, the cameras, just everything about each of these phones, and ultimately leave you to decide which one you prefer. But, as I say, you can go no wrong. VIVO and OPPO are absolutely killing it this year. So, without further ado, let's go. Now, if you would just afford me 1 minute to tell you that the VIVO X300 Pro Chinese version is available on the Average Dad Tech Store. You can pick this up for as cheap as £700 for the base model, and the X9 Pro Chinese is available as well for about £780 for the base model. But we also have a global version of the X9 Pro that is selling like gangbusters, £949. The cheapest legitimate price you will see anywhere. Now you can check out my community post on a competitor to find out more. And in terms of the VIVO X300 Pro global version, we will have this on our store at the end of next week. So by like the 7th of November, we'll have this on the store because again, we give accurate pricing and accurate shipping timescales, unlike other people. So, with all that being said, let's pit these two bad boys against each other. Now we may as well start with the build quality and materials for both of these phones. But don't be shocked because throughout this video you will realise how unbelievably similar these two phones are. However, we must talk specs. The VIVO X300 Pro is 8mm thick, or 8mm thin, depending on your perspective. It's 226 grams with armour glass protection on the front and rear. This is VIVO's own in-house glass protection, which in my experience using VIVO's for years, never really had an issue. If I drop my phone on a concrete slab from a great height, you can be sure it's still going to break. The OPPO is 8.3mm thick, or thin, and it's 224 grams. So slightly thicker, but also slightly lighter. This is using aluminium frame as well, but it's protected with Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which you've all heard of. Folks, a lot of manufacturers like Huawei and Xiaomi and OPPO and OnePlus and all of the above use very similar glass and builds. It's IP69 on both phones. Your phone is super well protected for all of the elements, and if you want to go swimming with it, go ahead. But I want to highlight this on all phone videos that I remember to do so. Just because there is IP68 or 69 water and dust protection, read the fine print. Your global warranty, including the 1-year warranty from the Average Dad Tech Store, does not cover water damage. That's why to this day you still have a water seal that signifies to the manufacturer that it's been water damaged. I personally don't think that's right. If you're going to advertise a phone as water resistant, then it should be water resistant. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Now, in terms of the displays, I've made this fancy little graphic on Canva to keep you updated. And again, pretty goddamn similar. 120Hz, 1 billion colours, LTPO tech, so both will go from 1Hz all the way up to 120. 6.78 inch screen. Folks, it's tit for tat. The one area I guess you could give VIVO the advantage is in peak brightness, with a slightly higher net peak brightness than the OPPO, but in direct sunlight, using both phones out and about, you're never going to notice. Both are very legible and easy to use outside. And you seem to like these, so I will continue to do these comparisons. Speakers. How are the built-in speakers on both devices? There is actually a small difference in real life while I'm doing the test. It might not come across in this YouTube video, but I will let you know my thoughts after this test now. So it is super slight. There's a tiny difference, but I have to say the OPPO has slightly better sound. That's from the lows to the highs, the bass, just the overall fullness of the tracks sound better in person on the OPPO. But let's be honest, you're going to use the latest and greatest Bluetooth built into both of these phones to pair with your wireless headphones. So in terms of the other hardware, obviously there's the SoC. Both phones are tied here. It's the MediaTek Dimensity 9500. For those thinking, oh, that's a downgrade from the Snapdragon. Yeah, I used to actually think that a few years ago too. Then I used a MediaTek powered phone and ate my words. The efficiency from the MediaTek chip and performance is superior to that of its Qualcomm brother. And that shows with the 4 million plus points on Antutu benchmark. And then there's the efficiency, which is consistently showed in battery drain tests. And we'll talk about battery soon. Both have outstanding batteries, but there's a clear winner. And it's not Vivo. They've both got UFS 4.1 storage. DDR6X RAM, I think we're on now. The latest, whatever that is. And USB-C 3.2 OTG. Yeah, ultimately that's the thing you need if you want to use display out from your phone to a monitor. Both have this on board. Now, in terms of software, I am thrilled to tell you that the Chinese version of the Vivo, or the global version of the Vivo, will run with Origin OS. The Chinese software skin that we have been neglected from using for years due to the global versions getting fun touch. So I can now firmly say that with ColorOS on the OPPO and Origin OS on the Vivo, we have a true battle on our hand, because if it was fun touch, this would be a whitewash. But in terms of customization, equal. In terms of animation speeds, equal. But for me, right now, in terms of widgets, it goes to the Vivo. The Vivo kits are second to none. Easy to get to, hundreds to choose from, and they're all manipulatable with on your home screen. The OPPO also has widgets, of course, but they're just not as cool as the Origin ones in my opinion. On the OPPO, there is a quick button that you can use for usual shortcuts, volume off, volume on, but you can use this as your mind space button, and it can do a multitude of things, including integrated with Gemini AI to go through all your apps, including OPPO's native apps, so it can pull up your calendar, your photos. It's really quite genius. I may get round to this. If not, I'm sure someone has, but a deep dive on the Mindspace section will probably be very helpful for you, because there's a shit ton of stuff it can do. Now, the Vivo also has a shortcut button, I should have mentioned, but from what I can gather, there's no Mindspace option. It's just your usual open a camera, volume on, volume off, open an app. It's customizable, but without the Mindspace stuff. So software-wise, when you go through each phone step per step, It's very similar, shock, but I actually find myself leaning towards ColorOS here. And whether that's because right now I've only got the global version of the Oppo and the Chinese version of the Vivo, it might be. But please keep an eye out through the Average Dad Tech Store, because I will have the VIVO X300 Global for sale on the 10th of November, if not a bit before, with shipping starting the week after. And yes, I am aware someone else has added the X300 Pro Global to their store already, 3 weeks before release at an unrealistic price. And we know what happened with the OPPO X9 Pro Global when they done that. So, software, probably a dead heat with slightly edging towards the ColorOS on the Oppo. Now, I've teased it, the battery. The battery on both of these phones is truly fantastic. But, spec for spec, there's only one winner. The Oppo X9 Pro Global has a 7,500 mAh cell. The Vivo has a 6,500 mAh cell, which is no slouch. But in European markets, when the global version is released, this will be knocked down to 5,400. Again, still bigger than your iPhone and Samsung and Pixel. But in terms of competing with the Oppo and Huawei and other Chinese phones, 5,400 just doesn't cut the mustard anymore. Really disappointing that Vivo have had to knock off the milliamp hours for the global release, keeping in mind that Oppo didn't. Oppo paid the extra hit on taxes and customs and kept the same size, massive 7,500 milliamp hour cell. So outside of capacity, you've got 80 watts wire charging on the Oppo with 50 watts wireless, and you've got 90 watts wire charging on the Vivo with 40 watts wireless. So again, kind of tit for tat. But for me, in my opinion, capacity is king. And having used the X9 Pro Global for 3 weeks now, it's a 2, sometimes 3 day phone. Mind blown. So before we get into the part most people care about, the cameras, I just wanted to highlight last night's live stream. Yes, the Average Dad prize draw took place live last night and I absolutely loved it. The intention was to give away a Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and then 2 runners-up prizes of either £100 cash or £200 store credit to be chosen by the winners. But I, with my beautiful eyesight, misread the first number. So I'd already called out a wrong number and I felt too bad that I had to give away a third £100 prize to that person. So last night, over £1,000 in prizes was given away. The Average Dad draw for the whole month of November is now live. The draw will take place on December 1st. Tickets are £5 for 1, £10 for 3, or £20 for 10. Now, in terms of prizes for December 1st, you're looking at a flagship phone up to the value of £1,000 and a couple of runners-up prizes of £100 cash or £200 store credit. Shout out again to all those that entered. As mentioned, last night was real fun. I love doing stuff like that. Now, let's talk cameras. I am aware I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but camera-wise, here's the specs. There is really not much to choose between them. Highlight specifications: triple camera setup, both with 50 megapixel wide-angle lenses, both with 50 megapixel ultra-wides, and both with 200 megapixel telephoto/periscope zoom lens. Here's some examples, just a few to whet your appetite. I've done a full camera sample video on the Oppo X9 Pro already. I'll link that in the description or you can search it on the channel. Folks, from photos to videos, portraits and macros and zoom and yeah, every focal length, Vivo never failed to impress. And now I would put Oppo up there almost with Vivo in terms of what the cameras can do and produce. Post-processing is fantastic. You've got the Hasselblad partnership with Oppo, which I think has been stellar, but slightly behind that Zeiss partnership with Vivo. Everybody that owns a Vivo always shouts out how great the cameras are and the processing. And I just want to take a second to shout out both manufacturers for the actual apps. Yes, where I feel Samsung and Xiaomi are lagging behind is with the camera app itself. OPPO and VIVO, however, absolutely crush it. Everything is where it should be. There's no hidden surprises. If you want to access photo or video or front camera or back camera while recording video, you can do so on both of these phones. You can quickly and easily change from 4K to 8K to 1080p, from 30 frames per second to 120 frames per second. Slow motion is super smooth on both devices. I honestly have nothing bad to say about the whole camera experience from app to actual outputs. It's been, A+ from both manufacturers. So, there we have it. A full versus from hardware and software and everything in between. I have a favourite, and it might not be the one you expect. I actually prefer the OPPO X9 Pro this year. In previous years, I've kind of always just gone VIVO because they're just amazing, and they are this year too, don't get me wrong. OPPO just seem to have stepped up their game much more than VIVO this year. And that battery, with no compromise to the UK and EU market, 7,500 milliamp hours. It honestly is the stuff of dreams. To get flagship cameras with a flagship battery, I mean, we've all seen these gaming phones with 6,000 or 7,000 milliamp hour batteries, but the cameras are dog shit. Now we've got a really incredible battery on really incredible cameras. And in terms of pricing, I've already mentioned about the Average Dad Tech Store. You can buy the OPPO globally direct. I think it's £1,099. You might get a free gift in there, and it's €1,299. As for the VIVO, no confirmed pricing yet, but it will be similar, if not slightly more expensive, both on the Average Dad Tech Store and on the VIVO Global website. So we have just hit, or about to hit, 76,000 subscribers. We could make 80,000 by the end of the year. If you fancy helping me out, just smash that subscribe button. If you have enjoyed this little versus battle, please hit the like button. And until next time.